You know what I used to do when I was practicing, and we spent some time in the gymnasium a couple weeks ago. I thought I'd do one more here in the gym because it reminded me of how much a part of my life it was. But I used to play this theme music, all kinds of different theme music. You heard Rocky theme music or whatever theme music was kind of the flavor of the week. I used to turn that on and play it while I practiced, you know, because theme music and music can kind of motivate you to keep going. You'll see people to this day when I'm running and in park, they'll have their earbuds in, and I know they're probably listening to music because that theme music or that music just kind of gets your heart pumping and keeps you moving. Theme music's associated oftentimes with a particular movie or a particular artist or something like that. Another crazy thing that I used to do when I practiced, and I would announce my own games. I would be alone in the gymnasium for all of these hours, and so I had to play with someone. And so I would kind of announce my own games. I would imagine that I was playing with Jerry West. Jerry West passes over to Ramsey. Ramsey's got it in the corner. Ramsey back to West. West shoots a jumper. West sinks it. I would announce it as I went. Now you're going to say, what in the world does that have to do with Bible study? Well, I'm going to look at another passage of Scripture. I'm going to take a re-examination of a passage of Scripture that we looked at just a couple of weeks ago. But I want to look at a different question. Because we've been looking at 10-minute Bible studies, life's most important questions, by looking at the questions that Jesus himself asks. And you remember in Luke 18, he told the parable of the unjust judge. And the reason he told the parable, so that they could pray always and not lose heart, Luke chapter 18. He said, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people. In that city there was a widow who kept coming to him and saying, grant me justice against my opponent. For a while he refused, but later he said to himself, though I have no fear of God and no respect for people, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will grant her justice so that she may not wear me out by continually coming. And then the Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God grant justice to his people who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long in helping them? I tell you, he will quickly grant justice to them. And yet when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Now, a couple weeks ago we looked at that question, will he find faith? The question I want to zero in on for our study today is when Jesus asked the question, will he, meaning God, will God delay long in helping his people? Will God delay long? The parable is a great parable in terms of not losing heart, because he's saying if an unjust judge finally comes through and grants the widow's request, how much more will our righteous God come through for us? If an unjust judge is going to come through and help someone, surely you know that God is going to help you. Now, what's that have to do with what I just showed you? Well, what I want to say is this. When it comes to helping and delivering his people, that is the theme music of God from the book of Genesis all the way through the book of Revelation. It is one consistent thread among other threads, but a very important one. When God's people are in need, God comes to help them and deliver them. God is a helping God. He is an encouraging God. He is a God who will give you the strength. This is if you want to talk the way I announce my own games, the announcement that was made throughout Scripture is that our God will come to help you and deliver you. I want you to be encouraged by that Scripture. It's a very important question that Jesus asks. Will God delay in helping his own people? And of course the answer is no. He will come to us without delay. He will come to us and give us the strength and help that we need. This, my friends, is the theme music of God all the way through the Scripture. Abraham in the book of Genesis, God was calling him to go to a new land. I'm sure he was frightened. He was fearful. God said, get out of this land. Go to the land that I will show you. Abraham was afraid, but because God assured him that he was with him and would help him, Abram left that area and went to the land that God would show him. The children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt. They cried out night and day. God called a man named Moses to go to Pharaoh and say, "Let my people go." God heard the cries of his people, and he sent a deliverer. He sent someone to help them. In the times of the prophets, the people were hauled away into Babylonian exile. There they were in a foreign land. Families were scattered. Their temples were desecrated. They no longer were together as a people. Yet in the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, they continued to remind the people, God will come to your aid. He will help you. Fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed, I am your God. That's from the prophet Isaiah. You see how this thread is running all the way through the scriptures. And then in the New Testament it says, when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, Jesus. Once again, there was a world that was in need. A world that's broken, a world that's fractured, a world that's hurting. And what does God do? He sends help. And in this case, the help is in the form of his own Son. Will God delay in helping his own people? He will not. Now, notice at the beginning, as I mentioned in this parable, that Jesus tells the parable, that Luke says Jesus told the parable to teach them to pray always and to never lose heart. Friends, I know when we're going through difficult times that it's easy to lose heart. Literally, it means there to give up the spirit. That there's something inside of me that's grown tired. That there's something inside of me that is weakened to the point that I'm just ready to throw in the towel. And Luke says Jesus told this parable to say to them, no, God will come to help. If an unjust judge helps, surely God will help. I want you to experience that firsthand, because I know there are times and circumstances and situations in your own life where you wonder if God is far away. He's always near you. He's always there to help. Now, some will say, it sure doesn't feel like he's there to help. It sure doesn't feel like that he's near. The example I like to use with people is the example of an eclipse. You know, in the eclipse, the moon moves in front of the sun and eclipses its light. And for a season of time, on a total eclipse, there's darkness. But does it mean the sun is not there? Of course not. It just means that temporarily that light may have been eclipsed. Sometimes we're walking through times of eclipse in our own life, times when it seems dark. But know that the light of God through his Son Jesus Christ is still very much there. The light is still there. And one day he will come to our aid, he will come to our help, the darkness will disappear, and we will walk in the light again. But it's important during those times of darkness to not lose heart, because, as I said, the theme music of God, the theme music that is played by God all the way through the scripture, is the theme that he always helps his people and grants them deliverance. I pray that you'll be encouraged by these words today when Jesus asks, will he not come to help his own people? Know that you're one of his people, and he is on the way to help you, to give you strength, to give you comfort, to give you a peace that passes all understanding. I'm Dr. Ken Ramsey from Bridgeport United Methodist Church. I thank you for joining us for this 10-minute Bible study. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. God bless you.